Welcome, guys. This is episode 24 of the Football Truth podcast. I'm welcome to be joined with James Charles Mack, who we got in touch after one of my Instagram posts about U.S. soccer kind of got some more traffic. He commented on there, and of course, like he can tell you more about his thoughts on U.S. soccer, I'm sure. But just in general, he really saw exactly what I was saying about the mentality of young kids in America, grinding, gym work, ball drills, kind of the all the usual advice that you hear from coaches, and how he learned the same stuff, but kind of through his own journey, playing with so many like Brazilians, South Americans, and like learning it, more or less on the streets, right?
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy because I grew up in Ohio mostly when I was
Hmm.
growing up in my youth time, but we played indoor soccer, like with
Yeah.
walls and everything. And I grew up playing like that. So I would play against the wall. I'd have the thinnest boot I could possibly have on my foot all the time. And I just would play every day, all the time. And as I got older, I got further and further away from that when we started playing leagues and we started playing proper football. And once decided that I was going to be a professional player, I was like, well, how did I end up like just being a fast player? I ended up just getting injured. I ended up not having the technical ability that was required where I was trying to go. And so I went back to just, all right, how do we start this? Well, we dribbled on the street. We played against the wall. We did all of these normal things that I just was doing that created the athleticism in the first place. And after I realized that's what was going on, I said, oh, all right, maybe this is more useful to me than being in the gym and doing all this crazy weightlifting and doing all these things they were doing. And it turned out to be true, but it took me trial and error over many years to figure that out.
Hmm. That's one of the funniest things of like so many like current and former top level players that I talk to, like yourself, that you kind of learned all these truths along your journey, and that a younger player, obviously without your experience and without kind of seeing the world, would have no ability to put it together. So,
It's almost
are there
impossible.
any other kind of things that you could like? Are there any other kind of like topics or lessons that you like inherently know, but you see so many younger players just totally miss the ball on?
They so one of the main things that really got to me was whenever I would go play outside in another country, as an
Mhm.
American player, there's a lot of stigmas about the type of player you're going to be. America's a huge place. There's many different types of players. But the stigma that we have is a low-key positive one is we work hard. We will outwork all of you. And
Hmm.
that's usually what they think. So in Scandinavia, for example, they'll bring a player not because you're skillful, not because you look cool when you play or you do this or that. They know that you will work hard. But in my head, I thought, well, I don't want to just be a work hard player. Yeah, I'm gonna work hard. I will outwork you, yes. But I want to be a technically sound, consistent, healthy, professional foreign player. So it won't just be in one country. I want to be this product everywhere I go. And the way to do that is by outworking people properly. Like I can go and chase a kid running down the wing 100 times and kick the ball out of bounds. That's great. You can lift weights and get super strong and fast and kick the ball out of bounds. Cool. That's not going to take you very far if you don't know how to properly manage the game, how to manage your body, how to consistently do the right things and inherently build it up instinctually. And that, from what I understand in my game, is it's made it last a lot longer. It's made my career a lot more rich by saying, okay, I'm going to outwork you, but instead of being in the gym for 10 hours, I'm going to go do 2 hours. I'm going to hit the ball against the wall in every single instinctual way that I have. And then I'm going to go on a walk and then I'm going to have my lunch and then I'm going to have a rest and then I'll get up and maybe I'll go to the beach. And then after that, press reset and do it again properly. The quality
Hmm.
of those hours, the quality of that work is so essential. And in America, we're taught from a young age, unfortunately, hard work will will make you free. Hard work will build you and make you rise. And I'm like, yeah, it'll get you to a certain point, but
Mm,
you have to be able to do the quality within that work. And that's a very serious piece that we miss a lot of because we're not how many I only grew up with maybe 4, 5 really quality high level professional coaches that played professionally until I was 20 years old. And I thought,
mm.
man, if I had had someone to teach me this when I was younger, I don't even know where I would be. Like it would be a totally different life. So I hope the younger players, especially if you're from a place where football isn't taken as given for your background, Canadian players, American players, in places like that, a lot of different type of Caribbean players as well. If you do the quality work in those hours, you can surpass people that are just trying to grind, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah, yeah. I think like the concept of like one doesn't of 1 hour doing boulders doesn't equal 1 hour playing futsal or playing small sided. I think that like that
yeah,
concept gets lost on many people because uh, I'm not sure if you've read that book. I think it's by like Malcolm
Gladwell.
Gladwell talking about the rule of 10,000 hours. And that
Hmm.
just, every kid reading that is like, okay, now I got to do all these hours every day. But without any
Yeah,
thought to like, is me just messing around really count, you know? And what's the quality of those
it's
hours?
exactly right. Exactly right. I read that book. I read it when I was
Me
a freshman in high school.
too.
I think it was freshman
Yeah.
or sophomore in high school, and Freakonomics and the whole line
Yeah.
of those books at that time. And that's what I thought. I said, "Oh,
Mm.
I'm I can do that. That's easy. I can just do the hours. All right, cool." And then once I realized, like, oh, everybody else is doing these hours too. Wait a second, except everybody else is doing this at an academy in Europe where they're being taught
Yeah, that's right.
hours correctly and with quality and every day, and they're in Brazil and they're doing futsal for so many hours. And then it started to not really make sense to me because I would be like, no, I'm gonna shoot 100,000 balls this month. And I'm like, well, how are you tired when you're doing it? Are you doing it with proper technique? Are you doing it with the correct amount of intensity? Or are you resting to make sure they're quality? None of that hit my head because I read a book that told me I could be great if I just grind past everyone. And once it really hit me that, nah, you can do it with quality and you can do 2 hours, 5 hours, 4 hours. And those four
Mhm.
hours are so well maximized that I started to surpass people like this. People that were
Mm.
way, most players I play with are way better than me. Like I'm not that sweet. Like I'm a decent football player, but I was able to maximize the quality of the few pieces of my game that I believed my body and my physical makeup could be most powerful for a person that needs that in their club. And having that be the center instead of the amount of time I'm spending at this thing was like, okay, I'm gonna go this way instead of just going this way. And it, it's I'm chilling in Sri Lanka with my wife, and we're going to the beach tomorrow. Like this is it should never be this way, but because of that principle, the promise of it has been immeasurable. You've been preaching this. It's beautiful to watch, bro. It's actually been beautiful to watch.
Thank you, man. It's 11. It's it's quite the journey, man. Just talking about this stuff because you get so many different characters like yourself, and actually, like I've never had a pro come tell me, "Oh, like you're wrong." I've never had one pro tell me that I'm
Oh
wrong.
yeah,
It's always some kid from some random country saying, "No, like that's not true," you know. and
yeah.
and even on that post that you commented on, there was a kid who said, he said, "Love the work, Taylor, but what about Anthony Robinson at Fulham? He's American, yet he's doing really well. So not all American
Mm.
as you say." And then I was like, "Okay, mate, hold on. He was born in England. He played for the whole Everton academy, the whole."
Yeah,
his whole youth was in England at the Everton, and now he's playing in Fulham.
youth
So
academy.
he's not American
in a
really,
in
but
a culture set up for
yeah.
that, where your whole thought process, every thought going out of your
Mhm,
brain throughout the day is about this thing that you want and need and have to accomplish. Us,
mhm,
we're worried about the NBA finals. Like we're worried about Ohio State football. Like we're worried about so many other things, so many other distractions, whereas
mhm,
theirs are so narrowed down, especially if you're in academy, where you're treated right and you eat right and everything's going smooth and your worst fear is that you don't get a deal when you're 18 and they think their life
mhm,
is over because it's so centralized for them. Like if we don't get a if we don't get a scholarship to play, for example, people still go play football. People will still leave and go to another country and play football. There, how many English people of an Anthony Robinson type player stopped? Oh, I didn't make it. I'll just play Sunday league, kick it with my friends. It's all good. A lot,
mhm.
a lot of them. And if I don't, it must be frustrating to have to read a lot of this. It must be frustrating to have to read a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, like my filter's pretty good. I can just kind of let it go by with the wind. It's kind of just how
Yeah,
life works. And I mean, even when I
you want to hear that?
like obviously like when I first started, I didn't have any big clients, so people are like, "Oh, who's this guy?" Even though I had much better
Hmm.
like actual like playing experience than anyone commenting.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
but then even now, like working with guys like in Champions League, like big clubs, people are still like who trying to talk trash.
Who are you? Like,
But like the more important thing is like having guys like you on here for a good conversation to really peel back the layer on how it actually works and like how a football career and journey kind of goes. And I'm looking I'm looking a bit at like you started playing for Chicago Fire, right?
yeah, that was my first so my first was with the under 20 program.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
back then the Chicago Fire was putting out unbelievable amount of professional players. And I was
Mm,
growing up in Columbus, Ohio, and they didn't have a youth program. Like they didn't have a under 20s, under 18s. It was before they started the academy system. I was the last of the Mohicans that didn't
mm,
get that chance. So I thought, well, who's the closest one I got? If I want to go be a professional player, then I need to go to a place where they produce professional players. And so I went and shoveled mulch. I went and cleaned chicken coops and got all the money that I could together. And I went to Chicago and played for the under 20s. All the players in that team, if they didn't end up playing professionally, they were all playing at the top university level, and most of them ended up playing a year or two here and there. But unbelievable team. We won national championship, no problem. It was a beautiful experience to deal with. But that was where the grinding started. That was when I started having to be like, oh, all these players are sweet.
mm,
I have to be just as strong. I have to be just as fast. This is all about physical ability. I'm 20 years old. I want to outdo these guys. And I had a good season, but I didn't learn about my game from me. I learned about how to play the game correctly. And
mm.
give and take, there's always going to be give and take when you're growing and learning in the game. But yeah, that's where I started to truly learn about football. Like Larry Sunderland and all those guys, they really took care of me over there.
It's like my experience. Like I played 5 years at like a so-called like major Division I college soccer program, and it'd be interesting to hear your experience going because from what I can tell, like you went from Chicago Fire to France, right, to play, and like at my college, like we have all the money from basketball and football, so we have like the best like S&C staff. We're doing all this gym work.
Yeah.
My coach was like a former like power lifter, has no experience with soccer, and just like his favorite player was the guy that was always injured, but he was like jacked, So
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
like the total like typical thing you would see in America. I mean, so did you experience anything like that when you were playing at Chicago Fire? And then I'm sure like when you went to France, and then I'm looking across your career, and it's like Iceland, Finland, a bunch of top teams like in the area of the world scoring goals. I mean, how was the like S&C like the sports science kind of experience there?
So In France, it was very little.
Yeah.
It was actually crazy because I went there and I went from Chicago Fire, which was we had the best of everything. Like we even amongst our own league, we had the best of everything.
Mm.
And when I went to France, my whole thought process with going to France was I didn't dream of being an American professional player. I didn't care about the MLS. I looked at it as none of you are serious. You're paying people $20,000 a year at that time to come out here in front of 30,000 people, and none of you can be sold for money for this club. Like I just looked at it as unserious.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what's crazy is I got my taste to find out how unserious I was when they put me into the first team and let me drown. Oh yeah, they brought me to the first team and let me drown and let me feel how far away I actually was and got humbled. And that's when I said, no, I need to go become a better football player. And
Mm.
so I went to France, and there was no sports and science coach. Our head coach, um, incredible, incredible coach, but all the food was good. All the food was proper food. There's no processed anything. Um, we didn't lift weights at all. The everything that we did was done on the pitch. Even the running that we did was done with the ball. The head coach saw that we didn't have any left-footed players, and I came as one of the youngest ones. And instead of making me just say, "Oh, figure it out," he would bring me to the pitch after the game or after the trainings and play a tennis ball to me, rain or shine, to
Mm.
my left foot only. He would have me eating lunch like with the team with my left hand. He would be doing all these alternative
Nice.
things that I was like, this is so weird, bro. Like, what is this? And over a year and a half's time, I started to see the gift that he was giving me without me having to be in the gym and all that. But there wasn't any like real science. It was all really natural. This is how football is done at Tourcoing, and they produced incredible young players. Johan Cabaye, Didier Drogba, like these
Mm.
are guys out of this tiny little club that they just do it like that. And I thought, you know what? If I can go and be like that and play at Tourcoing, maybe they'll teach me something I don't know. And obviously, I just got a taste of what I don't know. So I'm gonna go find out. And
Yeah.
yeah, it was a beautiful gift. It was, but there was no cool shirts. There was no the locker room was small. There wasn't
Mm.
any like shine or anything like that. It's a small little stadium. They packed it out every week, but my kit was just like torn on the inside. The socks I had to buy myself one time. And then we watched the actual game, and the ball is zipping about. Like the quality was so good, and I just couldn't.
Mm.
In my head, I couldn't figure out how is it possible that a club that plays football like this is getting such little resources when I just came from a club that's under 20. We look like we came out of Ligue 1. We look like we came out of Ligue 2, and these guys would mop us. It was really confusing, and it's really confusing for a lot of players that do leave university when they do
Mm.
come to like a USL team or they come to a European club, like because they have to start at the bottom too.
Of
And
course.
once
Yeah.
they get to Sweden, Norway, Finland, places where they can get work visas, to see the shock on their face. Like I got to experience it younger, but to see like a 23-year-old dude come into the locker room and look around and say, "What the hell is this?" I'm like, "Bro, you're behind us. You're behind. This is your starting place. You don't have the football team to subsidize all of your cool Nike stuff anymore. This is on you now to go get yourself a Nike
Yeah.
deal." Like, so no, it's a lot. I've seen it a lot for sure. You would know all way more about that than me.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny what like a bubble U.S. Division One men's soccer is with like all the top schools having insane deals with Nike and Adidas, getting boots, all the gear, and traveling, on the coach and flying, good
Every
hotels, all
match,
this stuff. Yeah, and it's like it's funny because there is a subset of like Europeans where they've kind of been like indoctrinated in a way where like American
mm,
culture has gotten that much where they think that American sports science is quote unquote better just because it's American, even
hmm
though Europe is where football is and where football has been and where it will be. for a long time at least.
Yeah,
And so
it's
there's this reverse, right?
it's completely reversed.
Mm,
It's funny enough, when I came back from France, my
mm,
mom's longtime partner, my pops, really, he raised me from like the age of 11 until what 20 something years old. But he's from Brazil. He was a Brazilian bodybuilder or a Brazilian strongman.
okay, wow.
And when I came back from France, I wanted to be like, no, I've got my skills now, but I'm gonna play for Charleston. I'm gonna play in the USL for this big club. But I have to
Mm,
be super strong and fit because I'm going back to play with all the super strong, fit guys that just drowned me in the MLS. So now I'm skillful. I understand the game. I gotta get super swole. So I go and live with Pops in Florida. And Pops
mm,
is obviously super strong. He's incredibly knowledgeable about the body, but he's from Brazil. And so he looks at me and he says, all right, do you want to get strong or quick or what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be all of them. So he hired a coach from the Buccaneers, the wide receiver coach, and took
okay.
me to the wide receiver coach and had me doing all these crazy drills, had me doing all this nonsense. After 2 weeks of that, he said, no, we're not doing that anymore. um, Stop all that. He comes and takes me to the house and he says, you are now banned from the gym. You are now banned from the gym. My
Yeah.
body just gets too big and I started running all goofy. He said, you're banned
Mm,
from the gym. I'm like, what do you mean? You get to go to the gym? I came here to go to the gym with you. He said, you're built to be a Brazilian style player. I've watched enough football in my life. I gave you your first Santos jersey so that you didn't have to become like this. So now we're going to do natural things. So he had me take a wheelbarrow, fill it up
mm,
with bricks, and walk the wheelbarrow down the side of the street and back, drop it, unload it,
mm,
drop it back again, and walk back. He had me doing wall sits, sitting against the wall,
mm,
um, box jumps, barefoot sprints at night in the track. He had me doing
mm,
all these things that I was like, this is so dumb. This is ridiculous. Well, I go to the preseason with Charleston, and I realize how incredibly he's prepared me for this. I got into that, was completely fine, no injuries. All we ate was rice and beans and Brazilian food. It, it was some of the most incredible preparation I'd ever had. And he's not even like deep football guy. Like he's a power lifter type guy, but he understands it from the cultural aspect that, oh, I've watched this enough. I've seen this enough. I understand the science of your body. You can't
mm,
be having weight on you like that. You can't run like that. You need to be outside with me at the beach. We're going to run sprints at the beach,
mm,
barefoot, everything. And my body had changed, like as you're becoming a man, my body had changed into a way that I was more like flexible. I was more, my touch on the ball was more supple. When I would go into challenges against bigger players, I was like sturdy. I wasn't just getting like bobbled about or like feeling like I was hitting a rock against someone. It
mm,
just felt different. And to me, I mean, Pops did it on purpose, but it felt like accidental to me. Like, oh, this just happened. Like, no, 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 that's
uh,
exactly how it happened. And
uh,
that was the first part of when I started to realize, like, okay, maybe I'm doing this the wrong way. Maybe that's I'm doing this wrong. And we went to Charleston, and we had very good, great food, great stadium, great everything, good fitness coach. But we didn't do that much gym either at Charleston,
nice.
and we ended up winning the USL as well. So it was the first time I got to see that was when we went into the more natural way of doing it, the way you would do it in the favela. And I thought, man,
Mm,
maybe I can be one of these guys. Like maybe maybe I can be one of these dudes.
yeah, got that
Yeah,
swagger. It,
yeah,
I think one of the things that one of the things that pro footballers do know, but they don't know the words to describe it, and something that non pro footballers don't know, and then obviously don't know the words to describe it, is that phenomenon of players that you're describing that are not bulky, that are not like gym guys, but they have insane strength, and and when you hit them, like their skin feels like iron. And that's
yeah,
something that I've noticed playing against like really pure Brazilians playing against Africans that are like really like from the streets, where they're not jacked, but they are obviously like they're lean. But when you hit them, they're so dense,
Oh,
and I think that's something that
horrible to play against.
like modern science doesn't really have a way to describe that, because it's not supported by like mainstream science, because it doesn't really like follow their like paradigm. But like, tell
It's,
me about your experience with like that like phenomenon.
so the first time I really understood that is I went
Mm,
to Indonesia. There was
mhm,
the King's Cup. It's like a preseason tournament in Indonesia with like the best teams in Indonesia. And I started playing against um, Asian players like this. And
mm,
my actually my best man at my wedding, his name is Gavin Hoy, and he plays in New Zealand now. He's a small Canadian guy of Taiwanese background. You
mm,
could never get the ball off him. He's a striker that holds the ball off you at he's just my height and he's probably slimmer than me. This dude only gets up and goes to the ocean every morning, like posted on his Insta every morning. This guy is just
mm,
doing push-ups and sit and I just can't understand it. And it's the first time I saw the Asian style of body build that I don't know, like the ball's played on the floor. The closer that and the lower my center of gravity is to the floor, I'll have more strength there than anyone trying to play. But I mean, ask any center back. It's horrible to play against guys that are slim like that and can bop you off balance. And
mm,
when I started to see that, I thought, okay, there's a reason why Robinho, why Neymar, why even the guys like Vinny Jr., all these type of guys can play with such huge monsters, and is because of the strength that's going on inside their fascial connection, inside their
mm,
ankles, inside their hips, their everything's built to work together and not just one muscle at a time. And I saw it the
mm,
most in Asian players. Asian players, I see it, and I love playing with them too because they play one and two touch football so well. But a lot of the East Asian players have this type of strength that I was in awe of it and I wanted it. And so I practice it still to this day. And I'm not gonna lie, it
mm,
does feel sweet when you body someone off the ball and you're like, oh yeah, like this guy was huge. I just did this correctly. And what's nice about football is you can put yourself in a position to make that more advantageous to your game. Whereas in a lot of other sports, like in American football, it's very difficult for a smaller American, like a smaller running back, unless you're like Barry Sanders or something like that, to just
mhm,
body people. In football, you can put yourself in an advantageous position to get the most out of the strength that you have, the most out of your all of your fascial connection, and yeah, Asian players are just the most incredible example that I've seen of this. It's beautiful to watch, horrible to play against, especially Gav.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like even here in Lebanon, every Sunday morning I play this game, and there are all these guys. They're all from Nigeria, and they're like, okay,
Strong,
like, just to
strong.
be fair, they're not like ex-pro players, but they can play, and they
Yeah,
have the body, they have like the really good, let's say, connections. They
just
have,
like
like they were really born with
yeah.
it well, you know, and when they hit you with their arm, you can feel the whole body hitting you,
Oh,
as opposed to just like a big bulky guy from the gym that has a big bicep from doing curls. Him
mm,
hitting you isn't using the rest of his body. It's just trying to like muscle his way towards you with his bicep, right? So it's like
yeah,
two totally different like patterns of movement. And if you apply that concept out and you extrapolate that to all the academies around the world trying to make top level football players, then you see why, like, even though there's so much money being spent on S&C and sports scientists, the clubs still go and pay top dollar for the Brazilian kid,
they do,
And
and
that was always my big thing.
it's no, it's real. It's so real.
Mm,
It always frustrated me when I was in like my mid 20s when I would just say like, how is this like 17-year-old boy capable of playing at this level and I can't play at
mm,
this level?
mm,
And
mm,
just have to face the fact that nah, they're built differently than you are. They have practiced this more hours than you have at that quality
mm,
with their body correctly. And it used to frustrate me so much. but it makes total sense. It makes total sense. And if we could get younger players to feel that and understand that that's the direction they can go in. I mean, they're playing against grown men also. Like when you're
Mhm.
16, 15 years old, even if you're not in your first team, you'll be allowed to go play in the Sunday league or the lower league club and play in their first team. In the United
Mhm.
States, we're not even like allowed to do that. Like most of the time when I was 16, 17 years old, I was like, man, I would love to play like in a lower league men's league, but I'd get to the men's league and the men's league itself is just not enough quality to keep me interested. But I was
Mhm.
like, man, I wish, why would I not be allowed to play with like the under 23s of the Columbus Crew or something like that? And I could get used to it. And I think that's also a big thing too, is when you have younger players playing with grown men, they get to understand how to maximize their body. They get to understand how to use it in a way that's fully fully maximized for the condition they have to be at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, like
no,
basically
I'm
just
with you on
having
that.
maximum functionality, like being able to utilize all their tissues in the
Functionality,
full capacity of
functionality,
their
yeah.
brain. Yeah. It's, that's one word, like functionality, that I really try to use a lot because it's so important. But I do recognize that a lot of footballers, just the word goes over their head because they're like, what do you mean? And they don't realize
Hmm.
that like your tongue or how well you inhale air or how well your toes retract when you run or like
Hmm.
just the functionality, like
Yeah.
you can't do it all the way, but that's different from just going and running more miles. So the one the
Yes.
metaphor that the one the metaphor that I use is like if you want your car to go faster, you don't just go and drive it for a long time. Like like you wouldn't
Exactly
expect your car to
right.
get faster by just driving it more, right? So
Yeah, that's exactly,
you have to
well,
fix
perfect
the
analogy.
car.
I never thought about it like that. Like it's exactly right. It's exactly
Yeah,
right. If I want to go faster, like I wouldn't get in. I wouldn't expect my Volkswagen Beetle to do the things I want it to do at a racetrack unless I've done some crazy Volkswagen things, some
yeah.
Audi things, some Porsche things that made me be like that. And
Mm-mm.
now that actually makes total sense now I think about it. But
Yeah,
no, the
and
functionality is definitely the key
mm,
for I used to, when I got banned from the gym from Pops, I used to want to be like this cool dude. I wanted to look swole. I wanted to be
of
like
course.
I wanted to be fly. Like I wanted to be like go to the beach and feel like I'm jacked. And he caught me doing like bodybuilding things in the gym, and it was the worst day of training the next day ever because he's like, we are not bodybuilding. This is not pretty time. We need functionality. And right now, what you're doing is just for fun. This isn't helpful. And I feel like we run into a lot of that with, especially the university players, run into a lot of that from their surroundings, from their S&C coach telling you to be like this, being around all these girls all the time, wanting to be swole,
Mhm.
getting your Instagram clicks, getting all these types of things, and it, it's clouded, and it's not. I mean, I was a victim of it too. I did the same thing. I was trying to get
Yeah.
swole. I wanted to look sweet, but I realized my body runs the best when my pecs are not massively swole. Like when my shoulders aren't completely jacked up here, I can actually run quicker. When my legs aren't
Mm.
doing wild stuff, I don't get injured as much. And that's not always a cool thing to do, but that's what works. That's what's functioning.
Yeah, that's one of the big like again, one more big gap in understanding that I think young footballers don't have is like lifting weights in the gym, doing a like barbell back squat.
Mm,
You might feel stronger in the moment because you can do more of that movement that you just did. But then there is the huge disconnect in between that and sprinting or hitting a football or dribbling.
yeah,
People just don't use their brain to say, wait, that doesn't actually make, how does that transfer over? You know? And
yeah.
then and like the average response is, oh well, like your muscles are getting stronger, and like you can use them at like higher power rate. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I think, like, actually
Yeah,
believe that yourself or no?
yeah. Like what? So you built up these super strong quads. You built up these calves that are huge. Okay, what happens when the
Mhm.
rest of their legs cannot handle that amount of weight? They can't handle that amount of
Yeah, exactly.
force. Like what happens then? You go sit on the bench. You lose money. How cool does that look? How cool do you look then? Like, and that's I'm telling you, there's been times in my career where I've been injured and had to come back and been injured and had to come back. And every time I had the most amount of short-term injuries was
Mm,
when I was at the gym trying to recover one muscle at a time. When
yeah.
I used to have when I was playing in Iceland, I had calf problems. I was playing
Mm,
incredible, balling, playing sweet. I go to the national team and I come back and I play on the turf like 2 days later and I do my calf muscle. And I'm like, all right, cool. What is it? I'll put the needles on it. I'll start working on just the one. And I'd come back and then the other side of my left quad where it was compensating, all of a sudden it's doing something. And I got stuck into the cycle of thinking, okay, now I got to work on this quad and this calf. And you just get in a death spiral, and I couldn't
mm,
figure
mm,
out how to get out. And everyone's like, bro, like, what's going on, man? I'm like, you know me, I'm the one that wants to play the most, bro. I waited my whole life to get up here. Like, I'm not, this isn't jokes. I can't figure it out. And
mm,
not until like I finally got back to saying, okay, let's do this the right way. When the season's over, I'm gonna go to the island. I'm gonna go do the same thing we did with Pops. I'm gonna go to the beach barefoot. I'm gonna do everything else barefoot. I'm gonna go play basketball sometimes. Like all of these
mm,
things to make everything more functional. And right when that started to happen, boom, we were right back on track. But I wasn't taught that on purpose. Like the Brazilians that I was playing with before, like in Charleston, he used to wake me up in the morning and come train with him just to do technique barefoot. And I didn't understand why until I got in the game and I was like, oh, this is really quick. I can move left and right way faster and way more efficient. I'm not as tired. Everything about my game feels easier, and I couldn't pinpoint as to why. But years and years and years later, I figure out, oh, these are the steps that you were doing by accident that pinpoints it as to why. And it's because of the functionality of everything working together. It's not just one
mm.
muscle and then another muscle. And it's it's tough to it's difficult for a lot of young players to trust in that, to trust and function
Mm.
over fashion, as it were. Yeah,
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
real.
for young players and even for many pros, it's like you have these doctors these doctors wearing white coats. You got these physios with their licenses and their and all the papers on the wall, even though they can't sprint that well. But
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
and they're telling you what to do, and you're a young player, and you're like, well, I should I should just follow what they say, right? And it's hard. Like it takes a lot of bravery for a young player to say no to that and to think for themselves. Then on top of that, to have a
hmm
solution that's different, obviously. And that's obviously
hmm
like is the mission of what is my mission is to provide that other solution and to give players the belief to say no to these physios and doctors, because once the pro guys figure it out, I've had clients like playing in the Premier League, playing in the Serie A. Once they figure it out, they just tell their physio, they're like, "No, sorry, I'm not doing that. Like my career
yeah,
is more important than your ego." Because the
yeah,
physio or the trainer has the ego of they want the player to do what they want to, or they want the player to follow their orders because I'm the physio. It's my job. I have this degree. I spent all this money on it. So, do what I say. But then the player is like,
hmm
well, actually, it's my career, and if I get injured, I'm gonna lose my job. I'm gonna lose my salary. So
yeah,
I'm gonna not listen to you. You know.
yeah. No, and that's a difficult position to be in, especially
Mm,
as a player. Like there's been times where that's where I've wanted to just be like, nah, I don't think I should be doing all this stuff, but do I want to face the repercussions of what that is?
Yeah.
Do I even believe in what I'm saying the most? Do I believe that that's actually like, is it just how I feel, or is it actually I can believe in it because it's real? And that is a very difficult place for a lot of players to be at. And I'm sure there's hundreds of thousands of them like that. So when I came
Mm,
across like your whole body of work, I was like, I believe this and I lived this, but I didn't understand as to why it was working. And if I had had that before and say, nah, my lived experience is working, this is why it works. So when you see the product afterwards, it's not by accident that all these things are happening. It's because I believed in it. This is what shows me that. This is how I can repeat it. And what is science? A repeatable process that you can prove?
mm,
That isn't that how you get degrees, by perfecting your science? I mean, that's what it seems like to me. But it's difficult to make that jump. And I'm sure you get lots of people, a whole bunch of lab rats that are telling you crazy stuff. But how many of those lab rats have actually gone and done the job? You know,
mm.
how many of them have felt the different types of gaps in their own body to be able to do that and execute it properly? There's probably not a lot. And nah, man, it's been really good to watch to see the success of the guys you're working with, because there's a lot more at stake for them as well. There's a lot more time for them. There's a lot more success that they're able to reach because they're
Mm.
getting it earlier. And
Yeah, 100%.
it's real, bro.
Well, I'm the same way. I wish I knew all this stuff back when I was 14 years old, 2 hours in the garage under fake lights doing ball drills when I could have been outside in the sun playing playing futsal
Oh,
against like
trust.
local like, Mexican players that were actually good and
Oh,
not just like doing drills with the white boys, you know.
yeah, yeah. No, I hear that, man. No, trust me. Like playing with the so at ours in Columbus, we have a crew that plays at 2 o'clock every day at Antrim Park, and it's
Mm,
all the Mexican players, the young players, the Caribbean guys. And we had one coach. I think he's still coaching at Ohio Dominican. His name's Willie Merrick, and he's just baller, just tiki taka type player. And he used to play back in the old A League days. Well, he would come and play with all of us, and he was the only white boy. But we all showed him the
mm,
most respect because he came to play with us to keep himself at the correct body shape, the correct fitness, the same sharpness. And I thought, man, this guy's a G, bro. This guy is like, I need to start coming out here and just playing with them instead of just going and doing stuff in my playing against the wall in my garage for 10 hours a day or whatever they do. And nah, he was a good example of that. That yeah, I'm gonna get better and better and better just by being outside and doing it, playing the game that I have to play. Like it makes way more sense, and it's good to have an example like that as well. Like if you can go to the Mexican League or the Jamaican League in
mm.
your town, you'll learn some things. You'll learn some things too. You'll learn about yourself too.
Yeah, like there was like about a year ago, I was back in California and I was playing every Sunday in like this Mexican league, and there was a kid, like a young white kid, that like my friend that brought him to that team to play every Sunday with all the Hispanics. He was telling me how they brought this kid like a year ago, so he's been playing every Sunday with the Mexicans for a year, and that Sunday league turned him from a boy into a man. And even though he
Like
played like
that.
academy and he was playing like high level academy football in Orange County, California, it was Sunday league that really turned him into a man. And like now he's playing like D1, like on like a full ride. So but good for him. But
Yeah,
it's just like no one will talk about that, you know.
it changes everything about your game. You find out who
Mm,
you are playing in that type of environment. You find out real fast. And what that was something too when I would go play in the Mexican League or the Ethiopian tournaments or the different styles
mm,
is I said, you know what? I want to be able to play every style I can play. I want to
mm,
be a foreign professional football player. So if I go to any country in this world, there is a place for me, and I know how to play that style that they want to play. And by playing in the Mexican League, um, oh, my wife's telling me we got training in a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
bit. By
yeah.
playing in the Mexican League, by playing in the Fijian tournaments, by playing in the Islander tournaments, you can learn different types of football. You can learn about how you respond to different types of adversity. And we don't have a whole lot of that type of culture consistently at a high level in America. We have our Mexican League that if you go
Mm,
to Mexican League, the stigma is, oh, you're going to get kicked, you're going to get hurt, you shouldn't go do that. And I'm like,
mm.
you probably are going to get kicked. So you should probably move the ball quicker, eh? Like you, if you're gonna get kicked, what are you gonna do about it? Like, are you gonna be strong about it? Are you gonna are you gonna learn Spanish? Like, think about
Mm,
those are the type of things that build your entire game. And I feel like we put that aside and we kind of put that down because we're like, oh, they're just people out here after work that are just gonna come and kick you. And I used
mm,
to think, nah, they're probably not going to kick me because I'm going to have to get quicker. I'm going to have to move the ball faster. Any type of skill that I use better work, and you better have full conviction when you do it because there's consequences. Like those type of things build your game. So when you do go to play, for example, when I go to play in a minute, when I go to play here in Sri Lanka, it's a very physical rugby style, like Caribbean island style almost type game.
mm,
And normally that's not my type of game. And fortunately, Renown, we don't play that type of football. It's on the ground. But everywhere else on the other teams, it's going to be a very physical game that they want to break up our style of low key tiki taka play. Oh, yeah,
mm,
I remember. I went and played in the Fijian tournament last year. How did I break that down? That's right. Oh, yeah, I remember that. When we were playing in the Jamaican tournament, instead of doing this, I did that. And it becomes part of your library that you can call
mm,
upon when if you're really trying to be that and you want to go live a life like that. You're going to need to have something in your library to be like, okay, I can't do the way I want to play right now here on this pitch with these people, with this style, with this coach. I need to reference back to what I did then that was unsuccessful and successful. In Mexican League, I'm telling you right now, you learn a lot about who you are playing Mexican League. You learn so many things about the game. Like, it's real.
yeah.
It's too real to play Mexican League. You find out everything about what goes on in your inner mind, everything like that.
Well, if anything, I think that it's a fabulous point to finish on. I'd be happy to have you on for a second time, JC. I thank you so much for your time. I know you got to get to training right now, but guys, please give JC a follow at Instagram at im.jmac. Give him a follow, see what he's doing. I know, like, you're playing for the U.S. Virgin Islands, the national team, so that's really cool. You're in Sri Lanka, and and to me, like you mentioned a bit about in the future going back to New Zealand to start building out like an academy. So that's very
Yeah.
exciting, man.
Yeah, man. No, thank you so much for having me, my bro. Like, it's
Yeah.
the stuff that you guys are doing, the stuff that you're teaching is real, and I've lived it by accident, and to have the map of how I actually got here after I
Mm,
arrived, to actually see someone map the way out, it's been super helpful for me to be able to teach that to the kids that I coach. Like at Havelock in New Zealand, we'll be teaching the same
mm.
thing in our curriculum. So, no, thank you so much, bro. I'll definitely come back again whenever you want. I know the time's probably all kinds of crazy, but feel free to
Yeah,
hit
yeah,
me up, man. Thank you guys so much for listening. Appreciate you.
yeah. Thank you so much, JC. That's episode 24 of the Football Truth podcast. I thank you guys. See you.